teach you how, or he can chaperone you above that stage. And you will discover when you go above that stage for the first time in your life, you'll know that what your soul is. I am that I am exists there. I am that I am. You discover for the first time you're made of the same spiritual stuff that God is made of.
For starters, are you said that the astral level has, or astral realm has two, it's basically the top and the lower, right? Or the higher and the lower.
It's got the lower, which are the hells, the middle,
Okay.
which is where most people who live a good life go, and then the upper part, which is people who got greater attention to go up to there. Just like in this world, you got people who live in the ghetto, right? People in prison. This world got hells too. They
Mm.
got lower forms of hell, solitary confinement, where you isolate, you want to kill yourself, right? But people who commit suicide, they don't know they can't kill themselves. Consciousness cannot be distinguished.
Mm.
You got the consciousness of God. God can't kill himself, but he
Now,
created entertainment for himself, which is us.
oh, I believe that. I definitely believe that. So there's two questions that come out of that. Hopefully I don't forget the second one. But for the hellish realm, so we already know that karma is the way that we kind of clean up anything that we did wrong, right? Like we did something wrong in one life, a few lives later or the next life, we
Yes.
might, you know. So what is the purpose of hell? Like when somebody dies, if they did a lot of bad stuff, is it a choice that the soul or the higher self makes where it's like, okay, I want to clean it up now. I'll go into the lower realms and clear out this energy, or I'll come back and I'll do it through the next couple of lives. Is it a choice of going into hell, or is it kind of like you just fit in hell
You
and that's
make
where
the
you're going?
choice. You make the choice while you're in this human body. You go kill somebody, you do some evil, you hurt people feeling you just rampant because you feel God doesn't exist to some extent. And even if he exists, somebody can come and hurt you. You may want to go and hurt them, right?
Mm.
So I'm saying uh, hells exist in a more intensified level in the astral plane. The pain is greater because the senses are enhanced. So therefore, the pain is greater. Just like you can feel pain in the dream world, but it's not as intense as in this world, right?
Yes, yes. No, that
So
confirms what people say. They say that the astral world, that your astral body can feel sensations even more than the human body. I've heard that before.
yes, and all of these experiences are temporary. You are a reflection. Each level is a reflection of a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. But as you go higher, they become more perfect, more beautiful, more glorious. Okay?
Hmm.
And any other question?
Uh, well, I mean, the other question, I mean, like, a lot of you, what you experience, like I've had an out of body as a kid, so I know how it is outside of the body, but I didn't go into any kind of realm, you know.
Okay.
But is it safe to leave your body? Because there are people who either say that it's the reason to be here is to learn how to leave your body and to go into the other realms. Then there's other people who say that there are angels and stuff that said, get back in your body. What are you doing?
Okay.
What
Okay.
is the answer?
Let me resolve this conflict. I'll give you an answer in this world. If somebody gave you a nice ticket, a round trip ticket, first class, and said go to Korea, would you go?
Sure,
You can get kidnapped there, right? Don't you know a lot
possibly.
of Americans have gotten kidnapped? There was a fella in the army. He jumped on and went to there, and he couldn't get away. And they eventually sent him back to America because he was no use. So
Hmm.
people get kidnapped in these different countries. Would you go to Russia,
Okay,
knowing that
no, no.
because you got the knowledge? So it's not good to meditate on your own. You you could get lost in the physical region. There are so many areas that got black holes. If you get too close to a black hole, you get sucked in, right?
Hmm.
Even light gets sucked in. Too much areas out there. Why take a chance on your own?
Yeah.
So God has set up a system. I'll tell you what his system is. His spiritual system, when he made the human being, he made this path inside the body of the human being to go back. He does not count on anybody else. If you start crying, I don't know if you have any children.
Mm-mm.
So if you've been a child, if you see other mothers with children, they have a baby in a cage. The baby is quietly sleeping. The mother's in the room sleeping too. But when the baby cry a little bit, the mother just turn over, the baby go back to sleep. But the baby start crying real loud, the mother gets up and pull the baby and give the baby some milk or try to quiet the baby down. The Lord operates the same way. We are his babies. When we cry from pain, he will eventually intensify your sinking. And if you cry loud enough, he himself will come in this world. That is his system. He does not rely on anybody else. When you cry loud enough, he will come, teach you how to go back to him. But you'll feel just like Peter. You'll be in the same position. Are you really God? I see you sleeping at night. Who's running the universe? Peter got into those thoughts. He don't know that God can take his attention and put a little bit and run this whole creation and the rest of it to run the different levels. He can be at all levels at the same time. You sometimes can have your attention on music in this world, and somebody can come and talk to you, and you can still hear the music going on in your head. And you can say, yes, what do you mean? And the music is still going on, silent in your head, especially a good song that you like. So that music can go on all the time. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Now,
And
it sounds like, I mean, like I said, I've heard your story in a lot of different places. I totally agree with a lot of what you say. The one thing that I struggle with, because I am very distrusting and because I am very much an independent, beat at my own drum, I do not trust anybody else enough to be, have a sensei or have a mentor. I just don't. Not in respect to the soul, which is to me is like, it's one thing to like buy a house from somebody or to, or a car, but to put my soul, my eternal soul in the hands of another being, to me is terrifying. Just me personally. I'm not
I
saying that for
understand. I
everybody.
understand. I was terrified too.
So I
But when
ask you this question. Like you said, God, like we are his babies. I totally believe that. I feel that with all my heart and soul. And if you
but
cry enough, he will come and he will help you. Is that the purpose of the guardian angels and the the guides that people say that they experience to help?
these angels and guides, they're jealous of you because they can see into the future. They don't have any free will. They know that free will is the only thing that can seek God and crowd. And when they crowd long enough, God himself will become a human being. And all of your feelings of doubt and trust will be in you. And I was the same way. I didn't want to put my trust in no human being. But when he said it's possible to pray and hear this sound, which can pull you out of the body, because God himself says, I'm the word, right? He is that word, but he's a human being talking crazy talk to you. And when nobody can put a sound in your head if it's not there. So it's easier and more relaxed to see if you can hear something. And when you hear it, you can meet him and you lose your fear. That's the beauty of that system. So he's not asking you to trust him. He said, trust what's inside your body. Can you trust that?
Hopefully. But
And if you can't,
I like that you say that because I mean, it actually makes even more sense because, as you said, the angels and let's just say the angels. I don't want to say the guys, but the angels for sure. In almost every religion or the Abrahamic faith, they say that they do not have free will.
right.
But in order to say that they don't have free will, that means that their will is the will of God, and that's why we should feel even more secure if we do have these angels that people say that they have, guardian angels, because it means that you have a God in you, and you have these little pieces of God that are protecting and watching over you, right? Ultimately, because their consciousness is not coming from something else; it's only coming from God.
But you can only catch up with these angels when you die and go into the astral plane. They can help you in this world, but you may say, "Who was a ghost around me?" We don't even want to see loved ones.
I've been helped. I've been helped by angels very clearly. I get in a lot of. I don't know if you listened to my answer, but when you said, "Do you want to go to Korea?" I said yes. I get into a lot of crap. Believe me, my angels on overtime. They work on overtime, so
Yes,
I know them.
yeah, you know them. They can help you in an invisible way in this world through circumstances and
Yeah.
situations. And but the system that God has set up, he himself will come. All of these holy men who came to this world started all these major religions. And we mostly know about Jesus. He said, nobody can go back to the Father except through me. God has to become a human being. When he comes to separate you from your loved ones. If you read Matthew's 10th chapter, I think it's 34 to the 37th verse. He says, I come not to set up to create peace, but I come with a sword to separate father from son-in-law, mother from mother-in-law, and daughter from daughter-in-law. And he ends up saying that you have to love me more than your mother and your father and your brother and your sister. You can only love another human being. You can't love a dog. You can get attached. You can't love the smoke. You can't love a cloud. You can only admire the qualities of Jesus, but you can't love him. God wants real love just like you love your mother, your brother, and your sister. When you love somebody deeply, you cry at their funeral. You don't cry for somebody that lived in history. You don't know them. You can conjure up emotion, but you can only cry for another human being. That's the system is set up like that. And that's a beautiful system. And God wants you to love him like that. So he is bound, he's duty bound to become a human being. And he creates all kinds of problems when you're here. He makes you love him more than you love your mother and your brother and your sister. But they'll feel if they're not destined to be his disciples, they'll say, what you doing? You crazy? You giving this man your money? You running around with him? Are you ridiculous? He got your nose so wide open. He create problems. That means they will become enemies. He says that in that section. They'll become foes in your own household. We don't
So
understand that passage.
so like I mean, because you mentioned earlier as well, you said that God wants you to seek him. Like that's kind of like the purpose in life is to seek God.
Yes,
Is it is it really? Because I mean, I try to put I talk to a lot of people. I'm doing my own seeking in the ways that I can. I'm beginning to wonder, like what I have myself before this conversation came to conclude was that God created all these beings like angels that have no free will. It's like making a
right,
little robot, a little doll. And it's like,
right.
oh, it's cute, it's fun, whatever, but I'm not being, there's no fun to this. I'm not really being, challenged, So I feel like this being that has nothing above it, nothing at its side, nothing that is its equal, there's loneliness that can come into play into that, right? So I feel like,
Loneliness.
oh,
Yes,
go
go
ahead.
on.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I feel like God has created, at the very least, mankind and whatever other beings that are like us that have free will, in order to create a family, in order to have something that starts to create its own personality and starts to understand what it is and what it likes, what it doesn't like, through series of lives and experiences, only so that it can have a family to some extent, have its children, have something that is so it's not completely alone and creating this fake world where everything does its bidding.
You
But of
creating
course,
a
go ahead.
you creating a big problem. Very few people know that God himself has a problem. We don't think he has a problem. God himself is everywhere present, right? All knowledgeable, uh, all powerful, everywhere present. And so he suffers from loneliness, okay? But he able to get rid of his loneliness and spread it to different forms of himself. And he spread everything. Therefore, he can suspend his loneliness by playing with his different creation. Just like when you were a little girl or a boy may get toys and play like when the parents leave him, oh, this is Army, I'm Superman. He get rid of his loneliness by playing with himself. The Lord played with himself, or you can play with a doll and say, oh, it's not real, but you play with it, right? You need
Mhm.
some milk, little baby. So if your mother leave you and leave you in the house for a little while, and you got a doll, the Lord is doing the same thing. That's how he gets rid of his loneliness. So the loneliness is necessary for us to get rid of it by going back to him. And then we can have control over loneliness and depression. You
Mhm.
understand? He got
Yes.
control by playing with himself because he cannot create another being. You saying family and everything, that is him creating everything out of himself.
Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
He's creating everything out of himself, and you are him. And if you experience loneliness, that's to make you seek. Let me get out of here because I'm disappointed. I need to find something real. Okay.
Yeah.
Any
And
other questions?
yeah. Okay. So that makes sense that God wants us to seek him. Like whereas the angels have to love him and obey and worship because he's telling them to, for us to come to God and seek and say, I love you, like truly I love you, is a big thing because it's from free will, or at least the illusion of free will that we have, right?
Okay. Let me quote Deuteronomy 20, I believe it's 20. Let me look at this. 21, chapter 21, 23 verse. It says that not even a leaf on a tree can move without his permission. That's how much control he got. So you know he can control you if he can control a leaf blowing in the wind, right? He knows how far to go and everything. There's another section in Matthew's 10, chapter 7 verse. All of the hairs on your head are numbered. That's how deep he goes. He knows exactly how many hairs you got on your body. They all are numbered. So free will is a wonderful thing. When God came here as Jesus, he let you kill him. That's how much he allowed you to operate the illusion of free will. He doesn't like to interfere with your karma. And there was one person, I forget his name, in the Bible. You may remember. I can't remember all of this.
I don't
He
know the
said,
Bible.
he said to one of them, when he had come back and after being raised up from the dead after 3 days,
Okay.
that person said, let me feel the holes in your body. Because he was full of doubt too.
Yeah.
Doubt is necessary. Skepticism is necessary. If you
Yeah.
go on my YouTube channels, you'll find the beauty of skepticism because you have it. I had it too. Skepticism will make you go to the very bottom of skepticism. And then when your intellect, which is reasoning, it creates skepticism. And your reasoning, my teacher told me that reason is good, but you have to satisfy the intellect. Even if your whole life or several lives are spent in satisfying the intellect, it's time gained, not time lost.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
once you get your then faith happen, then you start getting experiences.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes. Yes. So the one thing that I definitely had to clear up. So, and it's something that confirms what I've learned from other NDEs. I always tell people that if you're out the body long enough, people tend to start to remember more of who they are as a spirit or a soul, right? And you confirm this by saying that, but I wasn't sure. So you have to clear this up for me. In the astral realm, do you remember how many lives you lived and remember all of that? Or did you say that you have to go into the causal realm to remember everything?
Okay. When you get into the astral plane, depending on your concentration of attention, you can go back into several lives, but if you only develop concentration of attention to a certain degree, you can only see so many. And you can also see so far into the future. But in the causal realm, you can see the totality of all of your lives. Okay, depending on how far you've gone into that region. You can see because you're into the totality of time, what we call eternity. We feel that that's what time was created there. You can see what's going to happen to every human being if you go far enough into the causal plane. Time and space of everything that's happening exists there.
Okay. And now, so you clearly believe in past lives, right? Do you believe in multiple or parallel lives? So multiple dimensions, like as in if you make a decision today to have this interview, or you make a decision to go, to a dance or something, and then makes two different worlds. Do you believe in that
Let me tell
parallel?
you, let me tell you the meaning that I have of parallel lives.
Mm-hmm.
You have a life now, and then you have a life when you go to sleep and dream, right? You're dreaming about all kinds of things. So when you wake up, that's a parallel life. There are different dimensions people experience. When they go into another dimension, they can see, if they go higher up, they see another life there. then they come back. That's the parallel life. So
Hmm.
we constantly having different expression, but these lives are movies, if I could want to call them movies, and we acting in those films. Just like
Okay.
a movie star come and act like a criminal,
Hmm.
and then he acts like a hero. The
Hmm.
same person. It's not a different person. And if you act very well, you can get an Emmy award. You can get a Grammy, spiritual Emmy, spiritual Grammys. You you can get uh, a Tony if
Hmm.
you're on the stage in Hollywood in New York, or you can get a spiritual Academy Award. Okay, that's how it works.
Okay. Okay. And so I only have like maybe three more questions, but I love the idea of what you were talking about in regards to the sound. This is something that many NDEers hear, or even people who astral travel, they end up hearing very loud noise. A lot of them say it's like a loud, like almost like a train coming or a
Yes,
plane.
yes. And
Yes.
they don't know that's God expressing himself in that vibratory energy. If you ask them, they won't know.
Oh, they don't. No. So it's
No.
you're the first one to say that. So very interesting. I want to make a note of that. And some people even say they hear the buzzing of bees. I've heard that a lot
Yes, yes.
lately too. Very weird.
Those are the initial sounds prior to hearing the higher sounds as you're meditating. You can hear
Wow.
those sounds.
Yes. And then you have the famous indie ear, Eben Alexander, who mentions that he was able to hear certain notes that got him, into the different heavenly realms, and that he kind of tried to memorize them to see if he can get back into those realms.
Yes,
Yes. And I myself have heard the what I call the music of the spheres. I don't know if you consider this the same thing, but I know what I hear. And out of nowhere, especially if I'm going through a bad time, or sometimes just out of nowhere, I'll hear like heavenly music out of nowhere. There's no way it's
yes,
coming from around me, but I'm hearing like choirs
yes,
of angels. It's very weird.
yes. We can hear
Yeah,
those sounds. That was
yeah.
a fella. You can pull him up on YouTube. His name is Dr. Albert Taylor.
Okay.
He's a black scientist. He's
Hmm.
retired now. Used to work for NASA, and he used to, without meditating, he will have witches ride. I don't know if you ever heard of witches ride.
Hmm.
That's an old Southern term where people wake up in the morning and they feel paralyzed. They can't open up their eyes.
Oh yeah.
Have
Okay.
you ever had that experience, or you know about it, right?
If I had it, it was probably when I was younger, but people say that's the first step to get out of the body.
Yes, it scared him to death. And one morning, he would talk to his wife when they would come because it was scared. And he said, if I twitch my toe a little bit, shake my body, and I would wake up. But
Mm,
one morning, he couldn't twitch. He thought he was twitching the toe, and he just left the body
mm,
consciously. And he wrote a book called Soul Travel, Soultravel.
mm,
And I'm in touch with him too. I haven't told him that it's dangerous to do that, but he was able to travel in different parts of the earth. He didn't go too far up in space, okay?
mm.
Because you can get lost. There's a silver cord which connects this physical body with the astral body. If you go into the lower part, somebody can come and sever it, and you can't get back in the body.
Oh wow.
And then you can be lost as a ghost.
Wow.
People can actually become ghosts. There are several ways you can become ghosts. You want me to mention a few ways, or
Wait, wait,
leave that
wait.
alone?
Well, no, no. What you're saying is perfect because this is what I want people to understand or to know. But besides being a ghost, is it possible that somebody snaps your silver cord and then they take over your body, like they're walking?
They can do that in a strange way. But if you're a
Mm,
ghost, I have a friend. I was in Mississippi back in the 70s uh, with my wife, and I was visiting a friend, and he was talking to my cousin there, and he was dating another girl. Okay, he talked to me in private. I said, "Well, I don't want to mess with your karma. I'm not going to tell him about it. I'll leave that up to you." So he told me a lot of details. And after I left a few years later, my cousin called my wife and she talked to me and she says her kids were sitting on the couch and they saw him there because he used to spend a lot of time with her kids. You understand? And they were the only ones who could see him. Just like that movie, The Sixth Sense. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, yeah, very good.
Where the boy could see ghosts. So
Yeah.
some people are born with the ability to see that can
Mm.
scare them. And when people die, we don't want to see them again. That can scare us. I'm saying unless
Yeah, yeah.
we say, hey, that was a lady in India. I'm gonna tell you a nice story. She said to her daughter, and they had cows with horns on. They call them bulls. They would get milk from them. And one day, she left the door open, and the cow went into the bucket and got his head stuck. So he ran into the house, and the mother would say, oh, she thought the demons was coming to get her, the devil. So she said, my daughter's in the other room.
Oh my goodness.
Don't get me.
Oh my God.
We can give up people, and we don't want to see ghosts because that's a strange world. We don't know how they behave. The ghosts can be around us because they're trying to contact us. Just like in the movie Ghost, where Patrick Swayze met this movie on the train. In the movie, the ghost said, get off my territory, and tried to scare him. And Patrick was persistent. He wanted to know, how can a ghost pick up something? And he learned how to make things move by his concentration of attention. So ghosts can walk and create steps, and they trying to get your attention. But that can scare you. Hey, I get out of this house. I don't want to be in no haunted house, right?
And are they ghosts because these are people who went into the astral plane after dying, like their body is gone, and
Yeah.
they didn't go into the light, or they didn't know what to do? What happened?
Yeah, they get trapped there. Some of them, if you get shot, you constantly become ghosts. You don't even know you're dead because you have another body. You can get trapped in a space. You got ghosts that can move from one state to another. Those are mobile ghosts. Then you got ghosts who stay in the house and become haunted. They just stay in that environment. They can stay there for 100 years, 200-300 years. If you read stories about haunted ghosts, or you can be, if you get killed by an accident, you may get the human body quickly. Okay? Yeah. So ghosts.
If they go into the light, can they move on? I mean, that's
yes, you can move on.
Okay.
You can move on if you live a good life. Even if you get shot, you can go into the heavens, but you're going to come back. You can't stay there. That's what people don't understand. As I talk to you, you feel the heaven is the highest level. These are temporary states of consciousness experiencing itself. Consciousness can never go to sleep. It can never be shut down. Even when you get into a coma, you are experiencing something. You may not remember, just like when you wake up from a dream, you don't remember all of the details, but you always are in a state of being conscious of something. Okay?
Now here's another question that I thank God you said that. It's reminding me again. Is it possible, right? Is it possible that, I mean, I guess it is possible, because anything's possible with God, but is it possible that there are some souls that no matter how many lives, how many planets, how much time goes by, they don't want anything to do with being right, doing right, or following orders? Is it possible to have a soul death, that God will actually not get rid of the consciousness, not the energy, because energy doesn't die?
God does not get rid of the consciousness. He can't. Consciousness is spiritual energy. You learned in high school that you can't even destroy physical energy, right? It can only be transferred from one form to another. That's all God can do, put you in different bodies. You become a dog, you become a bird, he can make you an angel, he can make you a human being depending on your karma. And there are some souls, I don't want to say this, but this will shock some people.
Go ahead.
When we were with God, most of the souls didn't come here. He created the souls in the fourth region. Male, female principle creates there. There's no such thing as male and female. God is neither male nor female. But he created male and female so he can enjoy the drama. And so the drama takes place between the male and the female when they become human beings, right? And there's a section in the Bible, I forget this section, It says, I believe in the Old Testament, I think it's in Psalm somewhere, or it could be in Proverbs. The Lord has made this creation for his own pleasure, for his own entertainment, to get rid of his loneliness. He enjoying himself. We can do the same thing. We do. Don't you? Everybody's trying to run away from loneliness. Let me go to the movie. Let me find me a nice man so I can have a family. Let me go and travel and see the world. Let me go and read a book. We're looking for entertainment. We have the same consciousness he got. Because if you become still, it's hard to become still. In the Bible, it says in Psalms 46, chapter, 10th verse, be still and know that I'm God. They're talking about the mind. The mind is constantly running off, thinking, do this, do that. Over 60,000 thoughts are based on psychological research, goes through our mind every day in the wakeful state. When we sit in meditation, we're struggling with the mind, trying to make the mind be still. Our body can sit there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The mind says, get up, go. You got to do this. You got to go to work. You got to take care of the kids. It won't shut down. The only thing that can shut this mind down is that sound current. And I believe if you read Thessalonian, I think it's the Thessalonian, I think it's either Thessalonian 1, 5 chapter, 17 verse, I believe, or could be the 37th verse, but it's in one of those verses where it says, you must learn to pray ceaselessly all the time. And we know we can't do that. You hear that in church, you say, shoot, I can't do that. No, you can't. But God has a sound which can go on all the time. The music that you hear, if the thoughts don't come in, it stays there. The music is there. So how to tune yourself in, you need somebody who can tune you in. You like a radio that can come on and off. Therefore, the teacher who knows how to turn you on and off can turn you on and off. But like I said, you got to gamble a little bit. Have you gone to the casino?
Yes.
So if you go to the casino, you won't gamble all of your money and everything you got on one number.
No.
That's what you're doing when you're in this body. If you don't seek, because you don't know what body you're going to get next time. You could be born an ugly lady, blind, mentally retarded, get paralyzed, find a crazy man that give you 10 kids and leave you. You can be born in a different country. You don't have to be born in America all the time. So I'm saying some things, you're lucky now to be in this young body, and you should seek. And I'll give you some books to look at. God is love. And the love you have in your heart is not wasted. Even if you love a fool that abuses you. I'm giving you some strange knowledge. But use your because you're a good looking woman and you're gonna meet some nice men if you're not already met them. And you're gonna discover they're gonna use rap, I'm crazy about you and all that, and you're gonna surrender. And that's what a lot of these ladies are doing. And they discover that the man is no good. But that love will remain. There's some ladies that love a man to the point where they come home and whoop him, beat him. They still love him. That love is still good because that's God love.
No.
So nothing is wasted.
All my love is for the actual God. So I bypassed all that. But I did have there's another question I had. I hope I don't forget what it was. Concentration, because I'm so glad you mentioned this. This is so key. How can people who are seeking and have been paying attention realize that the power of concentration is everything, so that they'll start to meditate or try to meditate, figure out different ways to get themselves to focus. What is your what is your advice for people who are trying to figure out how to really dive deep and focus so that they can have
First of all, have you ever heard of Dr. George Washington Carver?
Sure have.
Black scientist who was castrated, got out of slavery, and he put his attention on plants. Two plants was his favorite, the peanut plant and the sweet potato plant. And from those two plants alone, he concentrated and he came up with over 400 different discoveries and inventions. medicine, dyes, food. He even came up with rubber. He met Henry Ford in the 20s, who was working on automobiles, T model Ford. Henry Ford offered him 6 figures, which would be like $1 million or more. Dr. Carver turned it down. He said, I'm not interested in money. I'm in the study of plants. So Ford didn't know how to take that rejection. So he did some investigation and he talked to his secretary at Tuskegee. And the secretary related to another person which related to Henry Ford. Because the secretary got after Carver. He said, you know, the man that does the auditing, I came to your office. I looked in your desk when you were not there. And I saw several checks uncashed. He said, you need to cash them because we don't want the president getting on you. Carver was only making $1,500 a year. The man was crazy about studying plants. He spent most of his hours in that office in the wee hours of the night. We all have the same ability that Carver has for worldly knowledge, worldly discovery. But he could concentrate. He had that natural ability. Now, if you want to develop ability, you normally go to school, right? Say if you were born in the 1800s or the 1700s, it was illegal for you to go to school. You would know how to read and write. It was illegal, right?
Yeah.
But this ability would still be in your head. So you learn by a teacher. Never get that out of your head. You learn everything from a teacher, even how to walk, even how to crawl, even how to read, even how to study, even how to concentrate attention. And you have to find a teacher that you can trust. One way you can tell from a teacher, the real high teachers, they don't charge any money. Okay? And they're full of joy and happiness, and they're full of love. And if your intuition operates, you can pick that up when you're around them. Physically, you can observe it. Okay, any other thing you want to ask?
No. That's everything. You answered some questions that I had even in that. So perfect.
Okay, so I'm glad I solved all your problems. And there's a
Yes.
section in the Bible, since you said perfect, the teacher can unlock this knowledge from within you. And the whole purpose of going through all these different species, there's a section in the Bible. I think I have it on one of my notes. Let me look at it.
Yeah, no problem.
In Matthew's 5th chapter, 48 verse, be ye perfect as your Father is in heaven. Now, so you go through all of these species. A dog has a quality of God, an attribute of God. Some dogs can give up their life for their master, right? Some dogs will protect their master. A tree has a perfection of God too. I'm gonna let you guess what the perfection is in a tree. Once I tell you, you're gonna agree. What can it do?
I was just saying to be still or to protect. I don't know.
It's got patience. You can't think of anything more patient than a tree, right?
Yes.
It's fixated. So when you become a tree, which is life, you become several trees, you have great patience. Patience is necessary to sit in meditation. And you got to sit. Some people get tired. I'm tired after a few minutes. Mind is fighting them, beating the hell out of them. They get bored. They don't want to be sitting, closing their eyes, and just sitting by themselves. They get tired. I got to go to work. I got to put on my makeup. I got to get into the world. I need to use these senses into this world. But these senses can enjoy a higher experience if it can go inside. Make sense?
Yeah.
So I have solved maybe 99% of your questions. And you're lucky to get them satisfied because I didn't get into your head. I only solved your question by giving you answers. You can say I gave you answers from within your head because that's where you got the answers from, right? I'm not a magician. And I only got one sense. That's the sense of humor. And that's,
okay.
And that's, we have 8 senses. The 6th sense is this intuitive sense. Okay. Men can have it too, but women got it more so. That's why women go to church. They in the church because they have more love in their heart. Then there's the Sixth sense, you can almost read what's in another person's mind, but you can't fully do it until you get into the astral world. Women can tell if a man is BSing her. Therefore, you say you don't want to love nobody but God. That's because of previous life you have suffered, maybe. So you got your eyes wide open.
Uh-huh.
But you made a mistake. You should have said, Lord, give me an ugly body because they're going to be after you. Okay. Well, anyway, uh, you stir up all these qualities while you're in the body. These attributes, which are in all of the different species, at least one quality is perfect. If you look in a beehive or in an ant hive, all of the soldiers ant will give up their life if you watch them. There's a movie called Hellstrom Chronicle. You'll see all of these different species. You'll see the qualities in them. Hellstrom,
Elstrom.
H-E-L-L-S Chronicle.
Okay.
There's a species that in the beehive or in the ant hive that will protect the queen. They'll give up their life for the queen. They fight other animals or species that try to crawl in the hive. And you'll see them losing their legs, losing their arms, trying to fight to the death. They have that devotion. You need devotion for God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have patient beings that are patient. And then if you look at the uh, what is that species that eats wood? Termite.
Termites? Yeah.
Yes, you'll enjoy that. It's an ugly creature. It's huge, like a like some snot. It looked like snot. Okay.
Uh,
And then the little termites pick up that creature because it can't walk, and they take care of that creature. That creature's doing nothing but giving babies all the time.
mm,
So it's dangerous to love sex. You can become that. If you put too much
mm,
attention there, you can become one of those beings that just give birth all the time. But you'll
yeah,
be a
yeah.
queen then. So these beings, that's all they do. And so they're perfection that God has created. So when you're in the human body, if you've gone through all these species so many times, then your job is to meditate and stir up all of these different qualities through listening to the sound. And just like
Mm,
milk, ordinary milk, stirred up enough will become cream, right?
mm,
So you can rise up and become cream of the universe. And God made you his darling in the universe. Darling, Jesus, God, whatever you want to call him, is crazy about the human being. All the other species and beings are jealous of human because God said they made in his image in terms of the way they exercise will. Okay?
mm. Yes, yes. I like that. I that's definitely new to me. I like the idea, because I've had guests that like your friend Betty Edie, I think her name was Betty.
Yes.
So like her, many of my guests have had experiences where they bilocated, where they were a tree, the sun, a
Wow.
flower, all of these things. So when you think about that, that the consciousness can move around, and that we've been all these lower beings, and that we've perfected those lower beings. I never thought about this. Like you really did just right now that you can pull in all of those attributes to perfect it, like to bring them all together and then move to the next level. One guest, Rafael Garcia, he went through all the levels or dimensions of that there are or he experienced, and he was the sun at one point, the actual sun. I was just like, that is amazing. And here's the weird thing he said is that it wasn't heat that the sun is giving off, but love. That all those explosions is really just love energy that's going to the earth and to the other planets.
The sun got a huge amount of karma, giving
Mm,
us food, life, heat, everything.
yeah.
And the sun can live for billions of years. Would you want to be a sun? Nope. You want to be with the real sun. You want to be with the real sun.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But
So,
I love your story because especially you being a African, I'm assuming like me, you're African American, right? And so we're from a group that while we had those superstars like George Washington Carver and Harriet Tubman, who I mean these are souls that had to have been like supreme masters because they went through hell and still did major, accomplishments, and didn't let it get them down. But when we're coming from this group that has now kind of turn into another type of being that, a lot of people today, I feel like they let a lot of the aversions and the challenges get to them and make them less than they could be. And that they're not really seeking. They're taking, this hand-fed religions and not seeking true reality. It's changing, but I just saying, like, from my experience, that's what I've kind of lived around. People who are just taking what is given to them,
Mm-hmm.
eating that knowledge instead of seeking the knowledge. And what I always tell people, and you mentioned it yourself as well, is that I don't think that God, our God, would have a problem with any of his beings seeking information. The only people who don't want you to know something are people who are trying to hide something from you. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
if
true.
you're loving and giving and all these positive attributes, you want your children to grow and to ask questions so you can teach them. You
Right.
know?
You're
Yeah.
right.
So
Now, let me say something to you. Since you are a great seeker, when you going to become a vegetarian?
I
You
I
want
am a
already?
vegetarian during that last
I'm happy to hear that.
but listen, let me tell you how it happened though. I didn't want to
Okay.
be. I went screaming and kicking. Um,
Okay.
during that last awakening I had about 4 years ago, in addition to hearing the words NDE, I couldn't eat meat. Every time I would eat meat, I would get sick, like completely sick. I couldn't hold it down. And,
I'm
and
happy to hear that.
and I'm from a family where my father said, you better eat everything on that plate. You don't throw away meat. You don't throw, So when I started having these issues, I had a whole freezer full of meat that I had to just throw away because I could not eat it. I couldn't.
Does your father still eat it?
No, no, he passed. My father passed. My family, they still eat meat for sure.
Okay.
Most of
This is
them.
what you should do. When you email me, or you can take them to Burger King and buy them a hamburger. They won't be able to tell the difference. Or you can email me, and there's a company in Illinois. And what state you in?
I'm in New York.
New York.
Hmm.
And you can order fish, hot dogs, chicken with wings on them. It has
Hmm.
a skin made from plants. Everything is plant based, including the eggs. And you can trick your family. Don't tell them that it's plant based because when they eat it, they'll say, "Give me some more fish." Then you
Uh-huh.
can tell them after the fact because if you tell them before that, they'll say, "I don't want to eat no lettuce and I need me some meat." They like addicts,
Yeah, yeah,
an addiction. The Lord help you by making you get sick. So you've been
yeah.
seeking, and that seeking is like a ticket He gave you, like a police giving you a ticket. And you said, "Let me give up this stuff." That's how He operates through circumstances. Okay.
Yes, yes. I was definitely forced, and I mean, and it's crazy. Like, for people, because you clearly have had experiences like this, but for people who have not, you're right. Once you start seeking God, it's like seeking you shall find. God will start giving you everything that you ask for. It really will. Um, Everything started happening where I think for almost months I started to fast. My body would actually fast. I did not want to eat until sundown for the beginning of the year, around this time of the summer solstice or whatever. I don't know. But it was clearly that I was being, not to say pushed or forced, but it felt like that. But I was being guided by for
Right.
a while. I don't know where it went because it kind of stopped after a while, but for a while it was where I was waking up in the middle of the night with ideas and stuff. I was fasting without wanting to fast, and I definitely couldn't even think about eating meat. Like, just the whole thought made me feel just sick. And then I started becoming more sensitive. I'm from the Bronx originally, so I just have to tell you that I grew up. In order to survive, I had to fight. I could not be a pacifist and survive where I grew up. Okay, so I had a vision. I had a vision at one point where I literally saw myself coming at me. I thought it was a person breaking into my house, and it was me. It was me coming at me with half my face in shadow, trying to attack me. And I realized that it was telling me that while I'm not going out and trying to hurt anybody just out of nowhere, that I can also not respond in that way. That when you fight fire with fire, you are fire. Like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So it's something I still, when I talk to other people who have the same question, it's just like, and I asked one of my last guests, and maybe you can answer this question, because it's like, yes, that's the answer. That's what Jesus taught, and love and give and all that kind of stuff. But does that turn into martyrdom? Does giving love in the face of violence turn into being crucified?
Not necessarily. It depends on the people that you're around. And a lot of people have been martyrs There was a one great poet. I'm trying to think of his poem. His name was uh, Bryant. He lived in the last century. I mean, in 1800s. Truth forever upon the scaffold, wrong forever upon the throne. That scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. I love
Yes,
poetry, okay?
yes, 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 yes. You
Okay,
got to have
so,
that faith in God. You have to have that faith that this is not real, that God is watching you every second, every millisecond. And if it's not for you to go, they can come at you with a million guns and, and machetes and God knows what else, and they still won't touch you.
well, you got a good awareness. So have some children and teach them. Don't just hold on to your own selfishness, okay?
I don't think I can. Like this is off the record, but I don't think I can have children. I have a weird blood type. I can't.
Blood type. Well, go and
Yeah,
adopt some.
I might. Yes, that I might do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Share that.
yes,
You will
yes,
make a wonderful mother.
yes. Thank
But
you.
pray to God before you adopt them that they don't end up wanting to hurt you. Like, you never
Yeah, I
know.
was about to say, yeah, I've seen those happen too. So that's why
Yes.
I'm not worried about any of that. I let God, like you said, we're kind of the little toys and the Barbies of God. You know, God, wherever He ever wants me to be, I'm there, whether I want to be there or not. So it is what it is.
Well, I didn't know I would talk this long. So if you
Yeah, I'm
want me to
sorry.
come
Yes,
back,
yes. No, no, that's perfect. It's perfect. We did a great job. I asked all the questions that I wanted, and you are amazing. I thank you so much, Professor Brinson. Thank you.